Okay, another problem for data structure and algorithms for coding interviews is single number. So, single number. The problem description is if, for example, we are given a non-empty array of integers, every element appears twice except for one. So we need to find that single one. So, with that, we need to study our problem here. As it says here, it's already in bold, so it is a non-empty array. So that helps because we don't have to do extra validation for checking whether an array is empty or not. And of course, it's an array of integers. So we are given an array of integers. So for example, this one. And it says here that every element appears twice. So if we look at this one, we have 2, 2 here, 1 and 1, 4 and 4. So as you can see there, except for 1. So which one has no pair? So we have 3 here. So we need to find a single one. So what can we do? We can start with a cursor here and then move until the end. And once we're at the end, we would be able to we should keep track of what we have already seen before. So maybe we can have a table here, a lookup table of what we have already checked. So maybe we can start with 2. Since we have 2 there, we can put it there, 3, and then 1. And once we find another one like 2 here, we can remove the 2 in this table because we know that it already has a pair. And the next value is 1. So 1 is already in the table, so we remove that 1. And 4 is not yet here, so we add it there. And lastly, another 4. So 4 is here, so we remove that. So the remaining value would be the one that we're going to return. So in this case, it's 3. Okay. So how are we going to implement that? So we have our method here, public int single number. And as mentioned here, we have an empty array. So we are receiving an array of integers. So no need for validations if it's empty or not. And then we will have a list of integers. So this would be our lookup table here. So it would contain all the values that we have already seen that has no pairs yet. And then of course we will be returning the one and only value left once we have already traversed the entire array. So that's why we have return list that gets 0, because we are assuming that we are actually quite sure that the table would be left with only one value by the end of this based on the problem given. So since we are going through every item, so it would be like this. For INDI in nums, the given nums, we are going through each item. And then if the list contains I, then what we would do is get that index of the array and then actually remove that from the list. That's similar to what we did earlier here. And then if, for example, the value is not yet in the table, so it's not yet seen, then we would be adding it in the list. So yeah, that's how it works. So if we look at this code, we go through it line by line. We start at index 0. Actually, the index doesn't matter because we are getting all the values of the array. So first is 2. Is it in the list? It's not in the list. So we go to the else and then add it there. So now it's added. Next, we go to 3. So we loop again. Is it in the list? No. So we go to the else statement and then actually add it again in the list. And then 1. 1, is it in the list? No. So we go to the next one and then add it in the list. Okay, we have it there. Now 2. For 2, does the list contains 2? So it does, so we get the index of that and then actually remove it from the list. Okay. Next is 1. So for 1, is it already in the list? So yes, it is on the list. So we get the index once again, then remove it. And then 4. So for 4, is it on the list? No, it's not yet there. So we go to else, and then we add it on the list. And for the final one, it's 4 again. So is it on the list? No. It's actually there. So yeah, we get the index of that and then remove it. And now that we're done, we are actually going to return that value already, the remaining one. So return list that gets 0. Okay. So that is how it works for the brute force. Now, if we're going to take a look at this one, and we would have another problem such as, additional description for the problem such as this. It says your algorithm should have a linear runtime complexity. So if we remember our problem earlier, it was already linear because we went through the array only once. But it is asking now that could you implement it without using extra memory. So it says that we should not create another array or another list or anything that would actually copy this table. So how are we going to do that? So we have to look at this bitwise operations. So we have this AND, OR, and XOR. So I think you should be very familiar on how this works already. So if AND, it has to have both of the values as 1 for it to have a 1 value. For OR, there has to be at least 1 and it would return 1. Okay? And for XOR, we need to have a different value for both of them to get a 1 value. So, if you remember, our problem asks for the different value for the value has no pair. So, if we take a look at this XOR, we could actually apply that. So we can discuss how this can work on the next slides. So for an XOR, so first we have the value 2. So our current value is 0010. So for us to actually visualize this one, we would really need to convert our integers to bytes. So current value and the result is 0010 because it's the first one. Next we go to 3. It's 0011. So if we follow the XOR operation, 1 and 0 will return 1, 1 and 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So it would be like this. And then another 1 value. So it's the same. So we are expecting that all of this will return to 0. And then 2, 0, 0, 1, 0, and 0. So we'll expect the second 1 to be 1. Okay. And then another 1. So the result should be 0011 and a 4, which is 0100, which would return 0111 and another 4. So because of that, this would be 0011, which is actually equivalent to 3. So that is a linear runtime, and we didn't really need to have an extra memory for it. So how are we going to actually implement that in our codes? So here is our method once again. And then we would assign num for the first index like we did earlier. And then we are going to return that value because this num would hold the value that is actually different. So we will go through the loop once again. Since num already holds the first index, we would already start with the second index. So I is equal to 1, and we will go through the entire array just like how we did it earlier. And then we will use the XOR operation. So this is the XOR operator. So we will be assigning the value to num. So we will be accessing the I value depending on the value of I, and then do an XOR, and then once we have gone through all the values of the array, we will be returning that num, just like we did on our example earlier. So with that, this is the best solution that I could think so far for this single number problem. So if you have any questions, just comment it down below. And if you have any better solution, or if you think that uh, there is another way of solving this problem, then just let us know, comment down below, and see you again next time for our other coding interview problems. All right, thanks, goodbye.